Mr. Tang, the acquisition of Royal Banquet has been fully completed. When the hotel's general manager said that, my mom was standing less than 10 feet away, still pulling her suitcase. My dad stood beside her. Both of them were staring at me. All of a sudden, I thought maybe getting expelled from school would be easier. At least that would be simpler to explain. My mom was silent for a few seconds. Tang Luochuan. Yeah? Why is he calling you Mr. Tang? I glanced at the manager. The manager glanced back at me. I suddenly felt like he was talking way too much today. Maybe, because my last name is Tang? My mom narrowed her eyes. Then what did he mean by the acquisition has been fully completed? To explain that, I had to go back half an hour. It was day 1 of my 7-day disciplinary reflection period, and I had been in an excellent mood. No military training. No early classes. No roll call. And the money was still arriving in my account every day right on schedule. I had even seriously considered figuring out a way to get the school to punish me for a few extra days. Then, first thing that morning, Shinmayan and Jiang Jinghua both showed up at my hotel suite. One brought breakfast, the other brought my textbooks. Then the two of them nearly started arguing over who got to ask me out first. I couldn't take it anymore, so I grabbed my car keys. Let's go, Shinmayan asked. Where? To look at the apartment. Jiang Jinghua immediately caught on. The Riverview luxury apartment from yesterday? Yeah. Shinmayan froze. You actually bought it? I think so. Both of them stared at me. I immediately explained. Other people handled all the paperwork. Jiang Jinghua pressed a hand to her forehead. Tang Luochuan, could you please stop using I think so when you're talking about an apartment worth tens of millions of yuan? What am I supposed to say instead? She stopped talking. I felt like this woman was getting harder and harder to have a conversation with. When we reached the new apartment, the real estate agent was already waiting at the door. The moment it opened, Shinmayan's first reaction was, it's huge. Jiang Jinghua's first reaction was, the view is nice. My first reaction was, how am I supposed to clean a place this big? All three of us went quiet at the same time. Shinmayan looked at me. You didn't think about that before you bought it? No. Then what did you think about? It's close to school. Jiang Jinghua burst out laughing. So you bought an apartment worth tens of millions just because it's close to campus? I was confused. Why else? Traffic every day is annoying. Shinmayan walked around the living room. You're going to live in a place this big by yourself. Won't it feel empty? No. Why not? I can just buy more furniture. She looked completely speechless. Jiang Jinghua suddenly asked, how many guest rooms are there? I looked at the agent. The agent answered quickly, besides the primary bedroom, there are 4 additional bedroom suites. Jiang Jinghua nodded. That's enough. I looked at her. Enough for what? Nothing. Shinmayan immediately said, then can we come hang out here sometimes? Sure. I didn't understand why she even needed to ask. But she was obviously pleased by my answer. Jiang Jinghua asked too, what about me? Aren't you included in we? She paused, and then the corners of her mouth clearly lifted. I understood these women less and less. When we came in, the agent had me set up the smart lock. I casually added Shinmayan's fingerprint access. She asked, what does this mean? Access to the door lock. I know that. I mean, you're just giving it to me. Otherwise I'd have to come open the door every time you visit. That's a hassle. The smile on her face faded a little. Then I added Jiang Jinghua too. Shinmayan glanced at Jiang Jinghua. For some reason, the atmosphere suddenly felt a little strange. So I thought about it, pulled out my phone, and said, I might as well add Zhou Qi and Zhang Ming too. The living room went completely silent. Shinmayan looked at me. Jiang Jinghua looked at me too. I stopped what I was doing. What? Shinmayan took a deep breath. Nothing. Jiang Jinghua nodded. That's great. I didn't know why, but she sounded like she thought it was anything but great. Right then, my mom called. Luo Chuan. Yeah? Where are you? Out. We're in Yuecheng. I almost dropped my phone. You're where? We just arrived. Didn't the school make you go reflect on your behavior? Your dad and I were worried, so we came to check on you. My head started to hurt. Why didn't you tell me first? If I told you first, wouldn't you have found another way to brush us off? That was my mom. She knew me extremely well. Where are you staying? She told me the name of the hotel. After I heard it, I went silent. Shinmayan asked, what's wrong? I looked up. My parents are here. What? Jiang Jinghua was much calmer. They came to see you? Yeah. Where are they staying? I told her the hotel name. Jiang Jinghua went quiet for 2 seconds, then couldn't hold back a laugh. Shinmayan still didn't get it. What? Jiang Jinghua looked at me. Isn't that one of the hotels under Royal Banquet? I closed my eyes. Yeah, the one I just bought. Half an hour later, we arrived at the hotel, which brought us right back to the scene at the beginning. The manager stood in front of me. My parents stood off to the side. I suddenly missed the people from yesterday who had accused me of renting luxury cars. At least that problem had been easy to solve. This one seemed genuinely hard to explain. My dad finally spoke. Luo Chuan, let's find somewhere to talk. I looked at his expression and, for the first time, felt like the school's 7-day punishment might not have been a punishment at all. The real punishment was starting now. We didn't go back to a hotel room. The general manager was extremely enthusiastic, and once he found out my parents had arrived, he personally took us to a private reception room. Tea, fruit, pastries, within minutes, the entire table was covered. My mom watched all of this, her expression getting stranger by the second. Finally, she couldn't help asking, "Do you treat every guest like this?" The manager paused. "Of course not." My heart sank. "Sure enough," he continued, "you two are Mr. Tang's parents. Naturally, you are among the most important guests in our hotel." My mom slowly turned her head toward me. I immediately looked down and drank some water. "Mom, don't look at me. I don't even know where to start explaining this anymore." The manager finally seemed to realize that the atmosphere was off. Very tactfully, he said, "Mr. Tang, I'll step outside. Please call me if you need anything." Okay. The door closed, and the entire reception room fell silent. My dad's first words were, "Talk." I played dumb. "About what?" My mom said, "Tang Luo Chuan. Keep pretending. Go ahead." I set down my cup. "It's really not a big deal. Yesterday, when I was eating here, I just happened to think this place was pretty good." My dad nodded. And then I bought it." Silence. My mom didn't say anything for a long time. Finally, she asked, "When you say you bought it, what exactly do you mean?" I mean, I bought it." "The whole hotel?" "Yeah. You didn't just get a membership?" "No." "You didn't just buy a few prepaid dining cards?" "No." My mom looked at my dad. My dad looked at her. I had the distinct feeling they were both trying to confirm whether they had somehow raised a son who wasn't entirely mentally stable. My mom continued, "How much?" I shook my head. "I don't know." Her voice shot up. "You bought an entire hotel and you don't know how much it cost. Someone handles that." "Who?" "The bank." "Why is a bank helping you buy a hotel?" "Because I have money." Even I felt that answer sounded more suspicious after I said it. Sure enough, my dad's expression turned completely serious. "Luo Chuan, where did your money come from?" This time, I didn't keep joking around. The system's rules were crystal clear. I could not reveal the system's existence. If I did, it would terminate immediately. I could make things up when I was talking to people at school. I could let other people misunderstand me. But with my parents sitting in front of me, this was genuinely giving me a headache. I earned it. My dad frowned. "How?" "Investments." "What kind of investments?" "It's complicated." "Stocks?" "Some. Funds?" "Those too, I guess." "What else?" I went silent. I couldn't exactly say, and I have a system that deposits money into my account every day. My dad studied my expression, and his tone actually softened. "Luo Chuan, I'm not trying to control your money. If this money really belongs to you, of course your mother and I are happy for you. But you just started college. And now, out of nowhere, you have this much money. I need to make sure there's nothing wrong with it." I understood what he meant. He wasn't worried that I was wasting money. He was worried I had broken the law. I sighed. "There really isn't anything wrong with it. No loans. I haven't laundered money for anyone. I'm not holding assets on someone else's behalf. And none of it came from anything shady." My mom immediately asked, "How did you know those were the things we were going to ask?" "I'm not stupid." My dad gave me a look. "Sometimes you do a decent impression of someone who isn't." My own father. Right then, there was a knock at the door. The hotel manager poked his head in. "Mr. Tang, the people from the bank are here." I froze. "That fast?" "They said they happen to have some documents that need your signature." My eyes lit up. "Send them in." Not long after that, 2 private banking representatives and a lawyer walked into the room. The way my parents looked at them was like they had finally found people capable of holding a normal conversation. I said immediately, "Perfect. Explain it to my parents." The banker in charge was visibly confused. "Explain what?" "Whether there's anything wrong with my money." He had probably never had a client ask a bank to prove to his parents that he wasn't a criminal. Still, his professionalism was excellent. He sat down quickly and began explaining that the accounts under my name, my existing assets, completed transactions, and source of funds reviews were all in good standing. The lawyer also confirmed that there were no irregularities with Royal Banquet's acquisition agreement, ownership structure, or follow-up procedures. My dad listened extremely carefully and even asked a lot of detailed questions. I got sleepy after listening for 5 minutes. Then the banker said, "Mr. Tang currently has no significant debt pressure, and his liquid assets are also more than sufficient." My mom finally relaxed a little. My dad, however, asked, "Then where, specifically, did all this money come from?" The banker paused, then gave a perfectly standard answer. "I'm sorry. That involves Mr. Tang's personal accounts and investment privacy. Without the client's authorization, we cannot disclose it." My dad looked at me. I immediately said, "I authorize it." The banker fell silent again. The problem was, they didn't know about the system either. In the end, they could only pull out the transaction records I could reasonably explain. But the more they explained, the more confused my dad became, because in his understanding, there was no way I could have accumulated assets on this scale in such a short time. Finally, he asked the banker, "So can you confirm one thing for me?" "Of course. This money really belongs to my son?" "Yes." "It isn't borrowed?" "No. And there isn't someone else who can come take it back whenever they want?" "Based on the information currently available to us, no." My dad went silent. My mom went silent too. I was just about to breathe a sigh of relief when my dad suddenly asked me, "Then how much money do you have right now?" I thought about it seriously. Then I answered, "I don't know." My mom slapped the table. "Tang Luo Chuan." I jumped. "I really don't know." "You don't know how much of your own money you have? It changes every day. How am I supposed to keep calculating it all the time?" The reception room went silent again. The banker lowered his head. I suspected he was trying not to laugh. My dad leaned back in his chair. After a long time, he said only one thing. "I suddenly think it would be better if you kept going to college." A very bad feeling suddenly came over me. That evening, my parents didn't stay at the hotel. Once my mom found out I had just bought a new apartment, she insisted on going to see it. Her reason was simple: "I need to make sure you haven't bought anything else we don't know about." I almost said, "There's actually a lot." But I was worried about her blood pressure, so I kept quiet. When we reached the apartment, my mom stood in the living room. Silence. Then she walked to the window. More silence. Finally, she turned around. "You live here by yourself?" "Yeah." "In a place this big?" "It's spacious." "You can't live in the dorm?" "I can." "Then why did you buy this?" "There are 4 people in my dorm room." "So? Not spacious enough." My mom closed her eyes. My dad, meanwhile, started seriously inspecting the apartment. Fire safety, property management documents, the contract. He even asked the agent whether there were any mortgages, liens, or ownership risks. I had to admit, he was much more professional about this than I was. I suddenly thought maybe I should just let him handle these things for me in the future. Right then, my mom came out of one of the guest rooms. "Whose pink slippers are these?" I froze. Chinmayan seemed to have casually bought a few pairs that afternoon. "A friend's." "Girlfriend?" "No." From the other side, my dad came out of the study holding a book Jiang Jingyue had left behind. "What about this?" "Also a friend's." My mom looked at the slippers, then at the book, then at me. "Two?" "Two what?" "Nothing." She actually smiled. I understood even less. Once my parents had confirmed that there was, for the moment, no problem with my money, I finally moved on to the part one actually cared about. "Dad." "Yeah? Now you know I have money, right?" "I know. So that means I don't have to go to college anymore, right?" The living room went quiet. I thought my logic was flawless. Why had they always forced me to go to college? To study, graduate, get a job, make money. Now I had already completed the final step ahead of schedule, and honestly, I had overachieved by quite a bit. So couldn't I just skip the steps before it? My dad looked at me. "Why wouldn't you go?" I was stunned. "I don't even need to get a job anymore." "Who told you college is only about getting a job?" "Then what else is it for?" "Growing a brain." That was hurtful. My mom added, "Especially now that you suddenly have this much money. You need to stay in school even more." I could not understand that at all. "Why?" My dad was perfectly calm. "Because you don't even know how much the hotel you bought cost. Someone handles that for me. Which is exactly why you need to learn. I can hire more people to handle it. At the very least, you need to know whether the people you hire are cheating you." I opened my mouth and, to my surprise, couldn't come up with a comeback. My dad continued, "Having a lot of money isn't a bad thing. But if you think having money means you never need to learn anything again, sooner or later all that money will just become money other people spend for you. I went quiet for a moment. That actually made some sense. But sense was sense. I still didn't want to go to class. Can I take a leave of absence? No. Transfer? No. Take fewer classes? No. Dad. Yeah? You sound exactly like my faculty advisor right now. My mom couldn't hold back a laugh. I felt dead inside. I had thought that once my wealth was exposed, I would finally achieve freedom in life. After all that, the conclusion was simple: I could keep spending money. I still had to stay in college. Worse, now that my parents knew I was rich, I wouldn't even be able to use pretending to be broke as an excuse anymore. What was the point of the system, exactly? That night, my parents stayed in a new apartment, and I was forced into a guest room. Their reason was that they wanted to use the primary bedroom to check what daily necessities I was missing. I was lying in bed when I suddenly got a message from Shinmayan. "How are your auntie and uncle?" I replied, "Alive." She sent back, "I meant, are they mad?" "Not too bad." "What about you?" "Not great." "Why?" "They know I'm rich now and they still won't let me drop out." There was a long silence on the other end. Then Shinmayan sent, "Ha ha ha." I stared at the screen without expression. Right after that, Jiang Jinghua messaged me too. "I heard your parents came." "Yeah." "Your money got exposed?" "Yeah." "Can you drop out now?" "No." A few seconds later, she also sent, "Ha ha 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 ha." I tossed my phone to the side. Great. These two women were getting more and more out of hand. The next day, someone from the bank reminded me that now that the acquisition of Royal Banquet was complete, I needed to formally meet with the management team. I didn't want to go, but my dad overheard and said one word: "Go." So I went. The conference room was full of people. The general manager, head of finance, head of marketing, head of food and beverage, human resources, legal, property operations, and several people whose jobs I had absolutely no idea about. After I sat down, everyone looked at me. I looked back at them. Both sides remained silent. Finally, the general manager said, "Mr. Tang. First, we'd like to brief you on the hotel's current operations." Okay. 10 minutes later, I regretted coming. 20 minutes later, I started missing school. 30 minutes later, I was beginning to think military training might not be so bad after all. Contracts, suppliers, labor costs, membership programs, events, reservations, branding, equipment maintenance. My head hurt just listening to it. Finally, the general manager asked, "Mr. Tang, do you have any requirements for the hotel's future direction?" Everyone looked at me at once. I thought seriously for a moment. How was business before? The general manager paused. Overall, it was good. Any problems with the management team? No obvious problems at the moment. Then keep doing what you were doing. The conference room went quiet. I looked at them. Why change anything? The marketing director said cautiously, "Usually, when a new owner takes over, there are some adjustments." "What are the adjustments for?" "To improve operations." "Is there anything right now that absolutely needs to be changed?" "For the moment, no." I nodded. "Then don't make changes just for the sake of making changes." Now everyone was silent. I continued, "Whoever was responsible for something before can keep being responsible for it. If someone's doing a good job, let them keep doing it. If someone isn't, replace them then. Professional work should be handled by professionals. I don't know how to run a hotel." The finance director couldn't help looking up. He had probably never seen an owner admit so confidently that he had no idea what he was doing. My dad was sitting in the back. For the first time, he actually looked a little satisfied. The meeting continued. Whenever something needed my decision, if I didn't understand it, I asked. If their explanation made no sense to me, I told them to say it in simpler terms. On two proposals where people disagreed, I had both sides reorganize the pros and cons. No rush. Figure it out first, then we'll decide. Later, in the car, my dad asked me, "How come you didn't make random decisions today?" I was confused. "I don't know how to do any of that." "You didn't know how to do it before, and you still dared to buy the hotel? Buying something and managing it aren't the same thing." He looked at me, then laughed. "You're not completely stupid." "Dad." "Yeah? Could you stop insulting me right before every compliment?" He ignored me. For me, the biggest lesson from that day was simple: buying things really was easy. Managing them was a pain. I should probably buy fewer companies in the future. A hotel was fine. At least I could eat there. A few days later, Shinmayan suddenly asked me, "Is Royal Banquet hiring part-time workers right now?" I was eating. Are you sure on money? She rolled her eyes at me. College students having part-time jobs is normal, okay? What do you want to do? Event operations, reception, anything like that. Then come work here. That easy? Yeah. I pulled out my phone. I'll tell the manager. She immediately put her hand over mine. No. Why? I want a normal interview. I froze. What's the difference? Of course there's a difference. You're the owner. If you get me in with one phone call, what will everyone else think of me? I thought about it seriously. The owner's friend? She glared at me. I don't want to be the owner's friend. I was even more confused. Then what do you want to be? Her face turned a little red. She paused for 2 seconds. That's not what I mean. Why did women always like stopping halfway through a sentence? In the end, she submitted the part-time application herself, interviewed on her own, and went through the training herself. I even told the manager not to give her any special treatment. 2 days later, I went to the hotel to get something to eat and happened to see her in uniform. Her hair was tied back, and an employee badge hung from her chest. She looked completely different from how she did at school. She was dealing with a table of guests who suddenly needed extra seats. The guests sounded a little impatient, but she stayed calm and patient the entire time. She quickly coordinated everything and resolved the issue. I stood off to the side watching for a while. She turned, saw me, and her expression changed instantly. Why are you here? To eat. Can you come to this hotel one time without it being about food? Isn't a hotel supposed to have food? She couldn't be bothered to answer me. I looked at her name badge. How is it? Tiring. Then quit. No. Why? I found this job myself. After saying that, she hurried off to work again. I stood there and suddenly thought that when she was seriously focused on work, she actually looked pretty good. I had no idea when the manager had walked up beside me. He smiled. Mr. Tang, would you like us to arrange something easier for Miss Shen? I immediately shook my head. No. She chose this herself. The manager nodded. Then I added, but if anyone deliberately gives her a hard time, tell me. The manager smiled. Understood. I thought about it again. Actually, no. Don't tell me about normal work problems. She'll yell at me if she finds out. The manager's smile got even wider. I started to suspect everyone around me thought I was funny. Shinmayan had only been working at the hotel for a few days when some of the employees figured out she knew me. That wasn't surprising. She had been there the day I bought the hotel, and plenty of people at school knew her too. So little comments gradually started appearing. The owner's friend. No wonder her interview went so smoothly. She's probably just here to play at having a job. She'll be gone in a few days. None of it was especially vicious, but it certainly wasn't pleasant. The strange thing was that I knew nothing about it, because Shinmayan never said a single word to me. Then Royal Banquet took on a fairly large campus brand event. On the day of the event, a problem came up at the last minute. One group of guests arrived earlier than expected, but the area prepared for them had not yet been cleared. The junior supervisor responsible for that section was panicking. Shinmayan happened to be there. She didn't overstep her authority. First, she confirmed which areas were available. Then she contacted the people in charge, rearranged the reception process on the fly, and coordinated with the kitchen to change the timing of the refreshments. In the end, the event wasn't delayed at all. By the time I arrived, everything was already over, and the supervisor was praising her. I asked, "What happened?" The manager explained the situation. I was a little surprised. "You know how to do all that?" Shinmayan immediately looked annoyed. "What is that supposed to mean?" "Nothing. It's just, before this, I'd only ever seen you play badminton." She glared at me. Everyone nearby laughed. It was only later that the manager told me people had been saying Shinmayan got the job through connections. The smile disappeared from my face immediately. "Who?" The manager was about to answer when Shinmayan walked up from behind us. "Don't tell him." I turned around. "You knew?" "Of course. Why didn't you tell me?" "What would I tell you for?" "So I could deal with it." "How?" I answered seriously, "Make them stop saying it." She laughed. "And then everyone will be even more convinced I got here because of you." I didn't say anything. She walked over and sat down nearby. "Tang Luochuan, what other people say really isn't that important. I just need to do my own job well. Eventually, they'll know." I looked at her. For once, I didn't immediately respond. After a while, I asked, "What if they never know?" "Then they don't. I'm not living my life for them." I suddenly remembered when I first met her, back in the first part of the story. People all over campus had been saying I rented my cars and wore fake designer clothes. She hadn't immediately avoided me because of those rumors either. It seemed like she had always been this kind of person. I nodded. Okay. She looked at me. That obedient? It's your business. Then why were you asking who said it? I just wanted to know. And once you know, remember. She burst out laughing. You really hold grudges. No. My memory is actually pretty bad. Then what do you remember? I answered very seriously. People. She froze. She didn't say anything else, but her face slowly turned red. I was confused again. I hadn't even said anything. My 7-day reflection period still wasn't over when Jiang Jingyue suddenly sent me a message. Come to my house for dinner Saturday. I replied, you're paying? She wrote, my house. I wrote, so it's free? She sent 3 dots. Then added, my dad wants to meet you. I immediately became wary. Why? Guess. My first thought was royal banquet. After all, the Jiang family was well known in Yuecheng, and Jiang Jingyue had mentioned before that her father also used private banking services. I asked, business? She replied, maybe. I decided I could go. Someone else was paying for dinner anyway. On Saturday, I drove to Baiting District. I had only heard that Baiting was one of Yuecheng's famous wealthy neighborhoods. Once I actually drove in, my first impression wasn't luxury. It was quiet. My second impression was that the houses were a little too far from school. Not for me. Jiang Jingyue was standing at the door. She wasn't wearing what she normally wore on campus. Instead, she had changed into a simple light-colored dress. I looked at her for a few seconds. She immediately asked, what are you looking at? You look different from usual. The corners of her mouth lifted slightly. What's different? Your clothes. The smile vanished from her face instantly. That's all you noticed? What else? Forget it. She was mad again. Women were really hard to understand. After I went inside, I met Jiang Jingyue's father, Jiang Chengyuan. He was in his 40s. He wasn't nearly as stern as I had imagined, and he didn't start by telling me to stay away from his daughter. Instead, he was extremely polite. Luo Chuan? Uncle Jiang. Sit. Jingyue mentions you often. I instinctively looked at Jiang Jingyue. She immediately said, I do not mention him often. Jiang Chengyuan laughed. All right. Occasionally. Her face turned a little red. I was even more confused. What was so embarrassing about that? At dinner, Jiang Chengyuan only talked about school at first. Later, he gradually brought up royal banquet. I heard about that acquisition. I nodded. News travels that fast? Yuecheng isn't that big. A property that significant suddenly changes hands, it would be hard not to hear about it. That sounded troublesome. If I had known, I would have bought a smaller restaurant. He continued, when you bought Royal Banquet, were you planning to enter the hotel industry? No. Then you're bullish on commercial real estate? Not really. Then why did you buy it? I picked up a piece of meat with my chopsticks. They didn't have a private dining room available that day. The table went silent. Jiang Jingyue covered her face. Jiang Chengyuan looked like he hadn't understood. What do you mean? Our class was having dinner there. The hotel said we needed to move somewhere else. Then the bank happened to tell me the place was for sale, so I bought it. Jiang Chengyuan stared at me for a long time without speaking. I got the feeling this was the first time in his life he didn't know how to continue a conversation. After dinner, he took me to his study. I had expected him to actually discuss some kind of project, but instead, he just made tea and asked, Luo Chuan, what direction do you plan to develop in going forward? What direction? Industry. Haven't thought about it. What about investments? Haven't thought about that either. Who is managing your assets now? The bank. All of them? Pretty much. Do you have your own team? No. Jiang Chengyuan went silent. I didn't know why he kept doing that. After a while, he asked again, besides Royal Banquet, what else have you invested in? I thought about it. Do cars count? No. What about the apartment? That doesn't count either. Then nothing for now. He lifted his tea but didn't drink it. He just looked at me. It was a strange look, like he was studying something extremely complicated. It really wasn't that complicated. I just had too much money to spend. Unfortunately, the simplest answer was the one answer I couldn't tell anyone. Jiang Chengyuan suddenly asked, what does your family do? Ordinary jobs. Your parents aren't involved in managing your assets? No. Then you're starting capital. I immediately cut him off. Uncle Jiang, that's not something I can talk about. The system had warned me not to reveal anything, so I had no choice but to shut that subject down completely. What I didn't expect was that the less I said, the more serious Jiang Chengyuan's expression became. I suddenly realized something. Oh no. He had misunderstood. Sure enough, he slowly nodded. I understand. What did you understand? I didn't even understand. Some matters really aren't convenient to make public. I understand family arrangements. No, it's not a family, it's fine. He smiled. I won't ask anymore. I gave up completely. Fine. Think whatever you want. When I left the Jiang family home, Jiang Jinghua walked me out. I couldn't help asking, did your dad misunderstand something? She looked at me. What do you think? He seems to think there's some powerful family behind me. Is there? No. Then where did your money come from? I looked at her. She looked back at me. A few seconds later, I said, you too. She burst out laughing. Fine. I won't ask. I breathed a sigh of relief. Then she added, I'll find out for myself eventually anyway. I immediately became suspicious. What are you planning? Nothing. She clasped her hands behind her back and took a step away. Drive safely. Tell me when you get home. I nodded. After I drove away, Jiang Jinghua remained standing there. At some point, Jiang Chengyuan came to stand beside her. That Tang Luochuan is even more unusual than I expected. Jiang Jinghua looked into the distance. I told you. Jiang Chengyuan smiled. You know him well? She paused. I'm getting to know him. What about Shinmayan? The smile on Jiang Jinghua's face faded a little. Dad. You ask too many questions. Then she turned around and went straight back inside. Jiang Chengyuan stayed where he was, thoughtful. Happiness never lasts. 7 days. The happiest 7 days of my life finally came to an end. At 8 in the morning, my faculty advisor's message arrived right on time. Tang Luochuan. Returned to campus as normal today. I stared at the screen and didn't reply for a long time. 5 minutes later, Mr. Wang sent another message. Reply when you see this. I typed, Mr. Wang, can I reflect for a few more days? The typing indicator stayed there for a long time. Finally, the reply came. No, this school had absolutely no compassion. I dragged myself back to campus. The moment I entered the gate, I realized everything was completely different from 7 days earlier. Before, when people saw me, their first reaction had been, isn't that the freshman who rented a BMW? Now it was, he's here. That's the guy who bought Royal Banquet. I heard he has a huge luxury apartment too. Those cars are all actually his. Someone even ran straight up to me. Luo Chuan, are you free tonight? The student union has an event coming up and we're looking for sponsors. I froze. Not sponsoring it. Someone else came over from the other side. Hey, Junior, ever thought about joining the Entrepreneurship Association? No. We have a project right now that would be perfect for investment. Not perfect. You haven't even heard it yet. Because I don't want to. I finally discovered something. When everyone thought I was poor, it was annoying. Now that everyone knew I was rich, it was even more annoying. When I walked into the classroom, Zhou Qi immediately lunged at me. Bro. 7 days. Did you miss me? No. Zhang Ming was sitting nearby. He had a better 7 days than we did. Luxury apartment. Hotel. 2 beautiful girls visiting him every day. Zhou Qi froze. 2? I kicked him. Don't listen to him. Right then, Shinmayan happened to pass by the classroom door. When she saw me, she stopped. You're back? Yeah. She smiled. Congratulations. Your sentence is over. Get lost. The entire class immediately started teasing us. Before I could explain anything, Jiang Jinghua came in through the back door and placed a cup of coffee directly on my desk. Picked it up on the way. The classroom got even quieter. I looked at the coffee. I don't drink bitter coffee. Her face was expressionless. I added sugar. Oh. Zhou Qi looked at me like he was looking at a dead man. I asked, what's wrong with you? He shook his head. Nothing. I just learned for the first time that having money definitely doesn't mean you're smart. I was about to curse him out when the faculty advisor walked in. The first thing Mr. Wang said after seeing me was, Tang Luochuan. Now that you're back, behave yourself. I nodded seriously. Don't worry, Mr. Wang. I'll do my best. Mr. Wang seemed satisfied. Then I added, I'll try to make sure the next punishment lasts longer. The entire classroom exploded with laughter. Mr. Wang's face went black. I felt like my college life had officially begun again. Less than 2 days after returning to school, I already missed disciplinary reflection. The Entrepreneurship Association came looking for me. The sports club came looking for me. The campus gala came looking for me. The campus singing competition came looking for me. Even the photography club asked, Tang, would you be interested in supporting campus arts? I asked, how? Sponsorship. Of course. The most ridiculous one was a student who cornered me with a business plan. Tang Luochuan, this project definitely has potential. I opened to the first page. The title was, Premium Private Social Platform for College Students. I asked, how is this different from WeChat? He went silent. We're more vertical. How do you make money? We monetize later. What about early on? Raise funding. And after you raise funding, expand the user base. Then what? Raise more funding. I handed the business plan back to him. The biggest product in your project isn't the app. What is it? Fundraising. Several people nearby laughed. His face turned red, and he left with his plan. I suddenly felt like college wasn't completely useless. At least there was a new joke every day. What really surprised me, though, was Zhou Qi and Zhang Ming. That night when I returned to the dorm, the two of them were sitting in front of a computer, discussing something with an unexpectedly serious look on their faces. I walked over. What are you doing? Zhou Qi blocked the screen. Not telling you. You're ridiculous. I was about to leave when Zhang Ming said, we're planning to enter the school's entrepreneurship program. I stopped. Start a business? Yeah. How much money are you short? Both of them looked up at the same time. Zhou Qi said, can you please stop making money the first thing you say every single time? Doesn't starting a business require money? But we want to build it ourselves. I didn't quite get it. You have access to money and you don't want to use it? Zhang Ming pushed up his glasses. Luo Chuan, giving us money is easy for you. But if everything comes from you, then in the end, is it really our startup? Or is it just you spending money to play entrepreneur with us? I didn't say anything. That sounded a lot like Shinmayan refusing to let me arrange her part-time job for her. I pulled over a chair and sat down. Then what do you need? Zhou Qi thought for a moment. A place to work, and maybe some advice from people who actually run businesses. We don't want money for now. We want to build something first. I nodded. Fine. Royal Banquet has empty conference rooms. You can use them. Zhang Ming immediately said, we'll book them normally. Don't just let us take them for free whenever we want. I looked at him. Why is every single one of you so difficult? Zhou Qi laughed. Because not everyone is like you, waking up every morning worried about how to spend all your money. I almost blurted out, how do you know? Luckily, I stopped myself in time. No one could know about the system. So all I said was, then I'll find a few people in operations to take a look at your project. Advice only. Deal. Zhou Qi held out his fist. I bumped it with mine. For some reason, I suddenly felt like this was more interesting than simply giving them a pile of money. Zhou Qi and Zhang Ming's startup plan slowly started moving forward. I introduced them to a few managers at Royal Banquet and asked those managers to take a look whenever they had time. Meanwhile, I went back to my normal college life, attending class, failing to skip class successfully, going to the hotel to eat, getting yelled at by Shinmayan, getting hit with Jianjingyue's dry sarcasm, and occasionally buying things. I had thought the second phase of my college life would settle into this rhythm. Then the general manager of Royal Banquet suddenly called me. Mr. Tang, there's something you may need to make a decision about. I was gaming in the dorm. What? The overall plan for the commercial district next to us may be changing. Does that affect us? Yes. Several brands we've worked with long-term have recently received invitations from another group. I didn't take it too seriously. Then pay them more. The manager went quiet. Mr. Tang, it isn't simply a pricing issue. That made me pause the game. What do you mean? What the other side is offering is a complete package of resources, space, joint branding, commercial events, and long-term development. Some things really can't be solved just by increasing the price. I frowned. I didn't like the sound of that. There were actually problems money couldn't solve directly. That evening, I went to Royal Banquet. In the conference room, the manager spread a map of the surrounding commercial district across the table. Several nearby areas had been marked. Here, in this entire section. These are all key areas the Lu Commercial Group plans to consolidate next. I studied the map for a while. What about Royal Banquet? The manager pointed to a spot right in the middle. We're here. I understood. They had been trying to put together one big puzzle, and I had bought the most noticeable piece right in the center of it. They want to buy it back? Someone did contact us before. The offer was fairly good, but you declined. I remember now. Something like that had happened. The bank had mentioned it. At the time, I had thought Royal Banquet was close to school, so I said no. The manager continued, the person in charge of this is Lu Chengzhou. He's one of the more highly regarded members of the younger generation in the Lu family. He hasn't done anything improper. At the moment, all of the competition is within normal business practices. I nodded. Isn't that good? The manager paused. You're not angry? Why would I be angry? They're doing business. I'm doing business. Whoever does it better wins. I didn't actually know how to do business, but saying it out loud made me sound pretty convincing. When I left the hotel, I was just about to get into my car when my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Mr. Tang? That's me. Hello. My name is Lu Chengzhou. His voice sounded young and polite. Nothing like Shoujiu, who made me want to hang up within 3 sentences every time he opened his mouth. Do you have time to meet? I asked. Are we eating? There was an obvious pause on the other end. We can. You're paying? He seemed to laugh. Sure. I agreed immediately. Then okay. After I hung up, I was in a good mood. The manager, however, looked complicated. Mr. Tang, Lu Chengzhou is probably trying to talk to you about Royal Banquet. I know. Then why did you? You can talk business and eat at the same time. The manager stopped talking. I got into the car, and my phone vibrated again. Shinmayan, I'm working the late shift tomorrow. Jiang Jingyue, don't make plans this weekend. Zhou Qi, we revised the startup plan. Help us look at it tonight. Faculty advisor, Tang Luochuan, why were you absent from class this afternoon again? I stared at the 4 messages, and suddenly my head felt huge. I used to think that once I had money, the biggest problem in my life would be having too much of it and not knowing how to spend it. Now I realized I had been wrong. Money was actually the easiest problem to solve. Someone could manage the hotel. Professionals could handle business issues. But school, friends, and those 2 women, every one of them seemed more troublesome than the last. Right then, Lu Chengzhou sent me the restaurant address. I forwarded it to the hotel manager. Check this place for me. Is it any good? The manager replied quickly. It's a well-known private restaurant in Yuecheng. Reservations are required in advance. I thought about it and asked, can I buy it? There was no reply for an entire minute. Finally, he sent one sentence. Mr. Tang. This time, there really is no need. I couldn't help laughing. Apparently, some habits were hard to change. What I didn't know then was that this man named Lu Chengzhou would become my first real opponent after I stepped into Yuecheng's business world. I also didn't know that very soon, a woman would look me in the face and say, Tang Luochuan, having a lot of money doesn't mean you know how to invest. And she would become the 3rd person who made me feel that dealing with people was far more troublesome than making money. As for right now, I looked down at my faculty advisor's message and thought for a long time. Finally, I replied, Mr. Wang, if I show up on time tomorrow, can today's absence not count? A few seconds later, the reply came. No. I sighed. Of course. The school was still the most unreasonable place of all. I am not letting you invest 1 cent in this project. I sat in the conference room, frozen for a full 3 seconds. The girl across from me closed the business plan. Her expression was calm, almost a little disdainful. Tang Luochuan. Having money doesn't mean you know how to invest. I looked at her. Then I looked down at my mobile banking app. For some reason, I suddenly felt insulted. In my entire life, this was the first time anyone had looked down on my money. Zhou Qi, sitting beside me, was frantically signaling with his eyes. Zhang Ming even kicked me under the table. The message was obvious. Bro, stay calm. Don't say anything stupid. I took a deep breath. So who exactly are you? The girl looked at me. Suji Xia, 3rd-year student in the School of Finance, project advisor at the university's Entrepreneurship Center, and I'm currently interning at Qiming Investment. She paused, then added, today I'm mainly here to help them review the project. I nodded. Then why can't I invest? Suji Xia frowned. You don't even know what the project does, and you're already ready to give them money? I answered as if it were obvious. They're my roommates. So, if they need money, I give it to them. She was silent for 2 seconds. Then she asked, what if they take your money and the project fails? Then they start another one. And if that fails too? I give them more. Zhou Qi had already covered his face. Zhang Ming lowered his head like he didn't know me. Suji Xia stared at me for a long time. Now I understand why people say your greatest skill is having money. I didn't particularly like that. I have other strengths. Such as? I thought seriously for a moment. I'm pretty good looking. The entire conference room instantly went silent. Zhou Qi was the first to burst out laughing. Damn, bro. You really have no shame. The corner of Suji Xia's mouth twitched too, but she quickly held it back. Read the project first. I picked up the business plan and flipped through 2 pages. My head started to hurt. There were all kinds of terms in there. Users, costs, use cases, conversion, repeat purchases, channels. I forced myself to finish reading. So what exactly are you trying to make? Zhou Qi couldn't take it anymore. We've explained it 3 times. Explain it again. Zhang Ming sighed. Simply put, we want to build a platform connecting college campus activities with nearby businesses. Students can get discounts and join events. Businesses get a stable student customer base. I nodded. Okay, I understand it this time. Su Zhisha asked, then why do you want to invest? It sounds okay. That isn't a reason. They're my friends. That's even less of an investment reason. I looked at her. Then what kind of reason does investing need? She took the business plan back. Prove people need it. Prove the model can work. Prove it isn't interesting only to you. Right now, they haven't even done the most basic validation. If you throw money at it immediately, all you'll do is let them skip the problems they're supposed to encounter. I didn't say anything. That sounded strangely familiar. When Shinmayan wanted a part-time job, she wouldn't let me arrange it for her. When Zhou Qi and Zhang Ming started this project, they didn't want to take my money directly either. What Su Zhisha was saying was basically the same thing. Money could solve problems, but it could also hide them. I thought about it. Then what should we do? Su Zhisha seemed not to have expected me to ask. She paused for a second. Run the smallest possible test first. Find a few businesses willing to cooperate. Find a group of real students. See whether anyone actually wants to use it. Once you have data, then talk about the next step. I nodded. Then do that. Zhou Qi immediately said, that's what we were thinking too. The problem is that we don't have a venue or access to businesses. I pulled out my phone. Su Zhisha immediately looked at me. What are you about to do now? Find a venue. Royal Banquet works with a lot of businesses. She frowned. Negotiate with them normally. You can't force people to participate just because you own the place. I looked at her. Do I look like a bad person? No. Then why does every sentence you say sound like a warning? Su Zhisha replied calmly, because you look like the kind of person who hears someone say they need an umbrella and immediately buys the umbrella factory. The conference room was silent for 2 seconds. Zhou Qi said quietly, she's kind of right. I glared at him. Shut up. Actually, the thought had crossed my mind. But at this point, saying that out loud would probably get me yelled at. So I only contacted Royal Banquet's operations manager and asked him to identify a few merchants who already wanted to market to college students. Normal cooperation. No pressure. No subsidies so large that they distorted the test. After listening, Su Zhisha nodded for the first time. That works. I looked at her. Can I invest now? No. Why? You haven't even started. I leaned back in my chair. I suddenly felt like this woman disliked money more than anyone I had ever met. After the meeting, I was about to leave when Su Zhisha suddenly called after me. Tang Luochuan. What? She looked at me. You really were about to invest directly just now? Yeah. Without even asking how much the project needed. Was that necessary? She went silent. The way she looked at me became stranger and stranger. What? Nothing. I just suddenly realized that if no one keeps an eye on someone like you, you're probably going to lose a lot of money you never needed to lose. I laughed. It's fine. I can afford it. She frowned. That is exactly your biggest problem. Then she turned and walked away. I stood there, seriously thinking for the first time about how one person could make so much sense and still be so irritating at the same time. Zhou Qi walked over and patted my shoulder. Bro, how does it feel? How does what feel? Getting lectured by a beautiful girl. I looked at him. She's beautiful. Zhou Qi's eyes widened. You didn't notice? I thought back. Long hair. Very pretty features. Simple clothes. Extremely calm when she spoke. She was definitely attractive. But she had spent the entire conversation telling me I didn't know how to invest. Who had time to look at her face? I said, her mouth is too sharp. Zhang Ming appeared from behind us. Why do I get the feeling you two are going to see each other a lot in the future? I didn't take it seriously. At the time, I had no idea Zhang Ming's prediction would actually come true. That evening, I went to the restaurant Lu Qingzhou had sent me. Before leaving, I specifically asked the hotel manager, this place actually serves food, right? The manager was silent for 2 seconds. Yes. Is the owner selling? Mr. Tang, I sincerely recommend that you simply go there to eat. Fine. I probably sounded a little disappointed. When I arrived, a server took me directly to a private room. There was only one young man inside. He looked to be in his 20s and was dressed simply. There was no expensive watch or car key deliberately placed on the table. When I entered, he stood up on his own. Tang Luochuan? Lu Qingzhou? Sit. My first impression was that he seemed pretty normal. At least he wasn't like Jojo. He didn't make me want to laugh after 3 sentences. Once we sat down, he didn't even start talking business immediately. First, he asked what I wanted to eat. I looked at the menu. "You're paying?" "I am." "Then I can order whatever I want." He laughed. "Sure." My opinion of him improved instantly. Only after the food arrived did Lu Chengzhou get to the point. "Royal banquet. I want to buy it." Sure enough, the hotel manager had guessed correctly. Why? Because of the location. Lu Chengzhou took out a simple set of materials. Several surrounding commercial zones connected together, and Royal Banquet sat right in the middle. He was very direct. The Lu Group has been consolidating this area for 2 years. We had already been negotiating with the previous owner. If you hadn't appeared, the deal should be in its final stage by now. I understood. So I stole something from you? Not really. He shook his head. You completed the transaction first. That makes it yours. That answer surprised me a little. If he had been a standard villain from one of those over-the-top power fantasy web novels, this was where he should have slammed the table and shouted, "Do you know who the Lu family is?" Then I would humiliate him in return. But Lu Chengzhou did nothing of the sort. Instead, he said, "I asked you here today because I want to negotiate again." He pushed an offer across the table. "The price is higher than what you paid. If you're willing to sell, we'll handle all the procedures." I looked at it, then pushed it back. "Not selling." Lu Chengzhou didn't get angry. "Price issue?" "No." "Then why?" "It's close to school." For the first time, his expression changed. "What?" "It's convenient for eating." The private room went silent. I thought he hadn't heard me, so I explained again. "I still have to go to class. Royal Banquet is close to campus. If I sell it, where am I supposed to eat?" Lu Chengzhou stared at me. A few seconds later, he actually laughed. "You really bought this place for the food?" "More or less." "Do you know why it's important to us?" "No." "Do you know how much the overall commercial plan around this area is worth?" "No." "Then why are you refusing?" "Because I don't need the money." This time, he had absolutely nothing to say. I thought my logic was perfectly sound. He wanted to buy because of the commercial value. I didn't want to sell because I didn't need to make that money. Both sides made sense. Lu Chengzhou took a sip of water. "Tang Luochuan, I'm starting to understand why so many people in Yuecheng are trying to guess what family is behind you." My head immediately started hurting again. "Here we go. There really isn't one. I won't ask." He smiled. "You can tell me if you ever want to." I was starting to think he was much easier to talk to than Jiang Jingyue's father. At least he didn't invent an entire explanation in his own head and then tell me he understood. Near the end of the meal, Lu Chengzhou said, "Since you won't sell, there's a second option. Cooperation?" I looked up. "How?" "We jointly develop the surrounding commercial district. Royal Banquet stays. You receive rights in the new project. We get a complete commercial linkage across the area." It sounded pretty good. I asked, "Is it a hassle?" "The teams would handle it. Then we can talk." Lu Chengzhou nodded. "I'll have someone send you the proposal." I was about to agree when I suddenly remembered what Su Zhixia had said earlier that day. Don't throw money into a project before you've even looked at it. I wasn't the one putting in money this time, but it still felt similar. So I changed my answer. "I'll have my people review it first." Lu Chengzhou's expression shifted slightly. He seemed a little surprised. "Of course." Before I left the restaurant, he suddenly said, "You're different from the rumors." "What rumors?" "Some people say you're just a rich second-generation kid who only knows how to spend money." I thought about it. The first half is wrong. The second half might be a little right. He didn't understand. I had already walked away. After all, I wasn't a rich second-generation heir, but I was pretty good at spending money. The next day, the Lu Group's cooperation proposal arrived at Royal Banquet. It was dozens of pages long. I made it to page 5. Then I gave up and threw the whole thing to the legal and management teams. Half a day later, the manager told me, "Overall, the terms are good. If we only look at short-term returns, they're actually very good." I asked, "Then we sign?" The manager hesitated. "There are some long-term clauses that need consideration." "Like what?" He started explaining. 5 minutes later, I was sleepy again. Right then, Zhou Qi sent me a message. "Su Zhixia is coming to Royal Banquet this afternoon to look at our test venue. Are you there?" I looked at the proposal on the table. Then I suddenly thought, didn't she say she understands investing? Might as well have her look at this too. When Su Zhixia arrived at the hotel, she hadn't even gotten a chance to see Zhou Qi and Zhang Ming's project before I pulled her into the office. I pushed the Lu Group proposal toward her. Take a look. She looked at me. What exactly do you think I am? Someone who understands investing. I'm not your employee. Then I'll pay you. Her expression turned cold instantly. I immediately added, a normal consulting fee. Only then did she relax a little. Your own team hasn't reviewed it. They have. Then why ask me? One more person looking means one more opinion. She stared at me for a few seconds, then sat down. Fine. But I'm only telling you the problems I see. The final decision is yours. She read the proposal much faster than I did. And she wasn't just flipping pages. She stopped at a lot of places and made notes. About 20 minutes later, she set the document down. Good in the short term. I wouldn't recommend it long term. That got my attention. Why? She flipped directly to several clauses. This section says future commercial event resources will be coordinated jointly. It looks fair, but in reality, the Lu Group is much larger. Over time, you'll become increasingly dependent on their customer traffic and brand resources. Then she pointed to another section. And here, the Lu Group keeps core operating control of the new project. Royal Banquet can still make money, but over time, you'll have less and less initiative in the overall commercial district. I understood part of it. So they're trying to trick me? No. Su Jixia shook her head. The contract is very clear. They aren't deceiving you. In fact, the terms are already pretty reasonable. You simply have different goals. She looked at me. The Lu Group wants complete control of the commercial district. If you only want dividend income, you can absolutely sign. Then she added, but if you might want to build something of your own later, you'd be better off not signing. This was why I liked talking to smart people. Say it simply, and I could understand. I immediately sent the proposal to my lawyer and told them to focus on the points Su Jixia had raised. An hour later, the lawyers reached a similar conclusion. I looked at her. You really do know what you're doing. Su Jixia's face remained expressionless. Thank you. Why does that sound like you don't think I'm complimenting you? Because coming from you, it sounds like surprise. It is a little surprising. I immediately called Lu Chengzhou. We're not signing the proposal for now. He didn't press too much. He only asked, can you tell me why? I explained the long-term control issue. There was silence on the other end for a moment. You have someone very capable on your team? I glanced at Su Jixia. She was looking down, drinking water. Something like that. Who? Not telling you. Su Jixia immediately looked up and glared at me. I hung up. She frowned. Why did you say you weren't telling him? Because it's funny. Childish. Don't you think he's definitely curious now? I only think you have too much free time. I laughed. She gathered her things and got ready to leave. I asked, where are you going? To look at Zhou Qi and Zhang Ming's project. I'll go too. She looked a little surprised. I thought you weren't interested in this kind of thing. I am a little now. She looked at me for 2 seconds and didn't say anything, but I had the feeling her attitude toward me had improved slightly compared with yesterday. Only slightly. Near the university, Zhou Qi and Zhang Ming had found 3 small businesses willing to cooperate: a milk tea shop, a barbecue restaurant, and a board game cafe. The first version of the platform was extremely simple. Students scanned a QR code and could see activities and discounts. At first, they were full of confidence. Zhou Qi had even started fantasizing. Bro, once this project gets big, I'm never getting a normal job. I asked, then what are you going to do? Be the boss. Su Jixia said coldly from behind him, get your first user to actually use it before you start planning your retirement. Zhou Qi shut up immediately. The test began. On the first day, plenty of people scanned the code. Very few actually stayed. On the second day, even fewer. By the third day, even Zhou Qi was embarrassed to look at the dashboard. That evening, the group sat in a conference room at Royal Banquet. The mood was awful. Zhou Qi lay face down on the table. It's over. Maybe we're just not cut out to start a business. Zhang Ming was quiet too. I sat beside them. My first instinct was still, should we spend more money on promotion? Su Jixia looked at me. I immediately raised both hands. I'm just asking. She looked away. Promotion isn't the problem. Zhang Ming asked, then what is? Why should students use your platform? Because there are discounts. Food delivery apps don't have discounts? They do. Group buying apps don't? They do. School group chats don't have event notices? They do. Su Jixia continued, then why should anyone specifically open your platform? No one said anything. I suddenly understood. There's no difference. Su Jixia glanced at me. Exactly. Right now, your biggest problem is that there's no meaningful difference. Zhou Qi looked discouraged. Then should we stop? Su Jixia shook her head. One failed test doesn't mean the project can't work. At least now you know the first version doesn't. That's better than burning through a huge amount of money for 6 months before learning the same thing. After saying that, she deliberately looked at me. I felt like she was taking a shot at me. I had no proof. I asked Zhou Qi, "You still want to do it?" He was silent for a few seconds, then looked at Zhang Ming. Zhang Ming nodded. "Yeah." Zhou Qi sat up straight. "We already started. We can't run away after 3 days." I smiled. "Then keep going." He immediately looked at me. "One condition. Don't just dump money into it." I know. I was starting to feel like everyone around me had formed an alliance to stop me from spending money. Was that reasonable? The system gave me money every day, and all of you kept telling me not to spend it. So who exactly had the problem here? While Zhou Qi and Zhang Ming adjusted their project, things on my side kept getting busier too. Royal Banquet, the new apartment, the commercial district cooperation, investment materials the bank sent every day. People even started finding me through all kinds of connections to ask whether I wanted to invest. Some were in food and beverage. Some were in entertainment. Someone even wanted me to invest in a social app. I looked through all of them for a while. I understood none of them. So in the end, I simply rejected everything. The head of private banking, however, reminded me, "Mr. Tang, as the assets under your name continue to grow, we recommend that you establish a more stable personal investment and asset management team." I asked, "Can't you handle it? We can provide financial services, but specific industrial investments and operating decisions still require a team of your own." One person suddenly popped into my mind. Suji Xia. That evening, I found her sitting in the lounge area outside the university library. The moment she saw me, the first thing she said was, "Zhou Qi and Zhang Ming's new data won't be ready until tomorrow." "I'm not here about that." "Then what? Would you be interested in helping me?" She looked up. "No, I haven't even told you what I need help with. Whenever you open with something like that, it's usually trouble." I sat down across from her. "I want to find someone to help me review projects." "You have a bank. They only manage the money." "I have lawyers too, but lawyers only look at risk. The hotel managers only understand hotels. I need someone who can tell me which things are actually worth doing." Su Jixia finally looked at me seriously. "You're planning to set up an investment team?" "I think so." She frowned. "There's that 'I think so' again. I haven't built it yet." "Why are you asking me?" I answered directly. "Because you're willing to tell me I don't understand something." She froze for a moment. I continued, "Most people talk to me like this. This project is excellent. This opportunity is rare. Mr. Tang, you have incredible judgment. You were the only person who met me for the first time and told me not to invest. So I think you're more reliable." Su Jixia was silent for a long time. "Do you understand that people who actually do investment professionally can't rely on a third-year college student?" "I know. Then why are you still asking me?" "I'm not asking you to run everything by yourself. I can hire a professional team too. You help review things with them." She asked, "What about pay?" I was just about to say, "Name your price." Then I suddenly thought of Shinmayan. And I remembered how much Su Jixia hated it when I threw money around carelessly. So I forced myself to change the answer. "Industry standard." Su Jixia visibly paused. I looked pleased with myself. "See? I learned." She actually smiled. It was brief, but I saw it. "You learn pretty fast. So you agree?" "Part-time." "Fine. I only handle the parts I'm qualified to handle." "Fine. And when I say a project shouldn't be funded, you can't bulldoze ahead just because you have money." "That?" She looked at me. I sighed. "I'll try." "No." "Okay, fine." She finally nodded. "We can try it." My mood improved instantly. I stood up. "Let's go." She froze. "Where?" "To eat." "Why?" "To celebrate me getting my first investment advisor." She corrected me. "Part-time advisor." "Same thing. Very different. What do you want to eat?" "I'm not hungry." "Then what do you want to drink?" She looked at me and finally sighed. "Tang Luo Chuan, is this how you normally negotiate business arrangements with people?" "Yeah. No wonder people think you're strange." "I don't call it strange. I call it efficient." Royal Banquet took on an event jointly organized by several student clubs. Because Shinmayan had performed well before, she was assigned to the event team too. Jiang Jingyue was one of the student organization representatives. Su Jixia became involved because of the startup project and some sponsorship-related planning. And that was how the most dangerous day of my life so far arrived. That afternoon, I walked into a conference room at Royal Banquet and saw all three of them. Shinmayan was sitting on the left. Jiang Jinghua was sitting on the right. Su Zhixiao was sitting across the table. I stopped walking. For some reason, I suddenly didn't want to go in. Zhou Qi pushed me from behind. Bro, go in. I looked at him. Why don't you go first? No. Why? I want to live. You're insane. I had no choice but to go in. Shinmayan was the first to notice me. Why are you only getting here now? I just got out of class. Jiang Jinghua said lightly, you actually went to class today? What's that supposed to mean? I'm complimenting you. Her tone didn't sound like a compliment at all. Su Zhixia simply pushed a document toward me. Perfect. Confirm the venue support. I sat down and was about to look at it when Shinmayan suddenly asked, when did you and Senior Su get so close? I looked up. She's helping me review projects now. Shinmayan, oh. Jiang Jinghua, oh. My hand stopped. Here it was again. That oh. Every time they said it like that, I had the feeling it meant nothing good. Su Zhixia looked at both of them and calmly explained, it's part-time work. Not the kind of relationship you're thinking of. I immediately looked at her. What kind of relationship are they thinking of? All three of them looked at me at once. The conference room fell silent. I felt like I had asked the wrong question. Shinmayan was the first to smile. Nothing. Jiang Jinghua nodded. Really? Nothing. Su Zhixia lowered her head and went back to the documents. Let's start the meeting. I had no idea what any of that meant. The event planning itself actually went very smoothly, because the three of them were good at completely different things. Shinmayan understood what students needed on site. Jiang Jinghua knew the school organizations and had access to some brand resources. Su Zhixia handled budgets and cooperation terms. What did I handle? Signing things. Halfway through the meeting, Shinmayan asked, what about meals for the staff working on site? I said, the hotel provides them. Su Zhixia immediately asked, who pays the cost? I do. She looked up. Put it into the event budget normally. I sighed. Got it. Jiang Jinghua couldn't help laughing. You seem kind of scared of her now. Who's scared? Su Zhixia said calmly, he's just finally learning that he can't give money away randomly. Shinmayan immediately asked, seriously? Tang Luochuan can actually learn that. I looked at her. Whose side are you on? The correct side. Everyone laughed. After the meeting, we planned to eat together. I casually said, let's eat downstairs. Shinmayan asked, you're treating? Sure. Su Zhixia immediately said, we split the bill. Jiang Jinghua looked at her. Why? It's a work dinner. Splitting it normally is simplest. Shinmayan nodded. I think that works. I looked at the three of them. I suddenly realized that inside my own hotel, I didn't even have the right to buy everyone dinner. After we sat down, something even stranger happened. Shinmayan naturally sat on my left. Jiang Jinghua sat on my right. Su Zhixia sat across from me. Zhang Ming and Zhou Qi walked in together. The moment they saw the seating arrangement, both of them stopped. Zhou Qi said very quietly, bro, you look like you're being questioned by 3 different departments at once. I kicked him. Sit down. Halfway through the meal, Shinmayan put a piece of food in my bowl. Don't you like this? Before I could answer, Jiang Jinghua had already rotated another dish toward me. This one's good too. Su Zhixia looked up, glanced at my bowl, then continued eating her own food. I suddenly felt like she was the normal one. The next second, she said, Tang Luochuan. Finish reading the Lu Group's revised proposal tonight. The smile disappeared from my face. Tonight? Tonight. Shinmayan laughed so hard she nearly choked. Jiang Jinghua couldn't hold back either. I finally confirmed it. Not one of these 3 women was on my side. A week later, Royal Banquet began clearly feeling the Lu Commercial Group's moves. One brand that had been preparing to renew suddenly decided to join the Lu Group's new commercial project. Another major event organizer chose them too. Several partner merchants also started renegotiating their terms. The manager was a little worried. Mr. Tang, if this continues, more brands may follow them. I asked, did Lu Qingzhou threaten them? No. Pressure them on price? No. Then why are they leaving? The manager explained, the Lu Group can offer a more complete set of resources. Their commercial district will also have larger event spaces in the future. For brands, that's genuinely attractive. I nodded. Then that's normal. The manager paused. You don't think? Their terms are better. People choose them. What's wrong with that? Su Zhixia was sitting nearby. When she heard me say that, she glanced over. That part of you is actually not bad. I immediately got annoyed. What do you mean, that part? It means at least you don't assume that if someone chooses not to work with you, they must be targeting you personally. I asked, what else would I think? A lot of wealthy people think that way. I considered it. Then there's something wrong with their brains. Su Jixia laughed. Right then, Lu Qingzhou called me himself. How's it going lately? Pretty good. I heard a few of your partners left. You hear things fast. They came over to us, after all. I asked directly, did you call to brag? No. He laughed. I just wanted to make sure you weren't angry. Why would I be angry? There was a pause on the other end. Tang Luochuan, sometimes you really don't act like a normal competitor. Then what do I act like? Like someone who doesn't care whether he wins or loses. I thought about it seriously. I really don't care that much. Even if the hotel loses money, it's fine. Su Jixia immediately looked up from beside me. Her gaze was dangerous. I quickly added, but obviously it would be better if it didn't lose money. Only then did she go back to reading the document in front of her. Lu Qingzhou had clearly heard that. Someone's with you? Su Jixia. Su Jixia immediately looked at me. Only then did I realize that maybe I shouldn't casually give out names. Lu Qingzhou asked, the person who reviewed the proposal last time. Yeah, I see. After I hung up, Su Jixia looked at me coldly. Who told you to give him my name? It's just a name. Do you know that business information can be important? You're not exactly a secret weapon. For once, I had actually left her speechless. I smiled. Finally. One win. 5 minutes later, she put a thick stack of documents in front of me. Read all of these. My smile disappeared. This woman really held grudges. After 2 more brands prepared to leave, I finally started getting a little annoyed. It wasn't because I cared about the money. The main problem was that the manager came to find me every time something happened, and it interrupted my gaming. So I asked, how much are these brands worth in annual cooperation? The manager gave me a number. I didn't really listen. I immediately said, double. I had barely gotten one word out when Su Jixia put her hand on mine. What are you trying to do? Pay more. How much more? More than Lu Qingzhou. And then? They come back. She stared at me. What about next year? Pay more again. And the year after that? Keep paying more. Su Jixia closed her eyes as if she were trying very hard to control her emotions. Tang Luochuan, if everyone learns today that all they have to do is bring you a competitor's offer and you'll raise your price, what do you think happens next? I thought about it. They all come to me? Yes. Isn't that good? She looked like I was about to give her a heart attack. They won't come because they want to work with you. They'll come because they want to use you to drive up the price. I finally understood. She pushed a report toward me. Some brands are worth fighting for. Some aren't. It's not that you can't spend money. You need to know why you're spending it. I leaned back in my chair. That sentence sounded familiar. My father had said something similar before. Having a lot of money wasn't the problem. The problem was that if I understood nothing, all that money would eventually just become money other people spent for me. I was quiet for a moment. Then what do we do? Su Jixia visibly relaxed a little. At least I was willing to ask. She said, don't compete head-on with the Lu Group for mature resources they're strongest at. They've been developing large commercial complexes for years. Their relationships with established brands are stronger than yours. If you try to outbid them directly right now, your costs will definitely be higher. So I admit defeat? Who said anything about admitting defeat? She pushed another list toward me. These. I looked at it. I hadn't heard of most of the names. What are these? New brands. Some aren't very large, but their products and reputations are good. They can't get into the Lu Group's core projects, and they can't get the best locations there. But they can here. I slowly understood. They don't want them, so we take them? Su Jixia nodded. You're not picking up trash. You're betting on things that haven't grown up yet. I stared at the list. That suddenly sounded much more interesting than simply paying more money. Then invest in all of them? Her expression changed instantly. I immediately said, I'm joking. She looked at me suspiciously. You'd better be. For the next stretch of time, Royal Banquet stopped chasing the established brands that had left. Instead, we began contacting the newer brands Su Jixia had selected. When we first met them, many of them couldn't even believe Royal Banquet was genuinely willing to give them good locations. The founder of one young restaurant brand asked me, Mr. Tang, why are you willing to bring us in? I answered, Su Jixia said you were good. The other person looked at Su Jixia. Su Jixia's expression didn't change. I only said they were worth testing. I nodded. Same difference. She held back the urge to roll her eyes. Besides bringing in new brands, we also started hosting student and youth-focused events that Royal Banquet had never paid much attention to before. Campus sports events, design exhibitions, new brand tasting events, music activities, small entrepreneurship markets. Because Shinmayan was working in the events department, she quickly noticed something. Students actually love this kind of thing. Royal Banquet used to feel too formal. A lot of people thought it was expensive and were afraid to even come in. Jiang Jinghua added, if part of the property becomes younger and more relaxed, it'll also feel different from what the Lu Group is doing. Su Zhixiao was responsible for judging which events had long-term value and which were just expensive noise. I handled final approval. At first, the thing I said most often was, do it. Later, Su Zhixiao forced me to change that to, why are we doing it? At first, I found it incredibly annoying. But after asking often enough, I actually started understanding some of the answers. There was even one time when the manager brought me a celebrity event that looked extremely exciting but came with a very high price tag. The old me probably would have agreed immediately. This time, I asked, besides having a lot of people show up that day, what does it do for us afterward? The manager froze. Su Zhixiao looked up at me. I felt a little proud. How was that? She nodded. Progress. For some reason, hearing her say that felt better than all the people who had praised me for being rich when I bought the hotel. Of course, I wasn't going to tell her that. A month later, Royal Banquet's overall customer mix had begun to change. The old customers were still there, but there were noticeably more younger guests. Several of the new brands performed better than expected too. Some brands even started approaching us on their own. Lu Qingzhou found out quickly and asked to meet again. This time, there was no meal. We met at a coffee shop. He put recent data on the table. Whose idea was this strategy? I pointed at myself. Mine. He looked at me. I paused. My team's. He laughed. That I believe. I wasn't happy. What does that mean? If you told me you thought of all of it by yourself, I wouldn't believe you. This guy was getting more annoying by the day. But he was straightforward about it. What you're doing now is genuinely good. We're going after established brands and stable commercial customers. You went after the younger market instead. In the short term, you may not be stronger than us, but you've already created differentiation. I asked, are you scared? Not yet. He smiled. I just finally think this is getting interesting. I smiled too. Then let's keep going. Let's. For the first time, I suddenly felt like doing business might not be as boring as I had imagined. As long as no one made me read contracts every day, it was actually kind of interesting. Meanwhile, Zhou Qi and Zhang Ming ran another round of tests after adjusting their project. This time was better than the first. At least people were genuinely using it. But the results were still far from what they had imagined. One campus event in particular had been planned for a long time, but on the day of the event, attendance was only a small fraction of what they expected. The partner businesses weren't happy either. After it ended, Zhou Qi sat on the steps by the back entrance of Royal Banquet and barely spoke all night. I brought 2 drinks and tossed him one. What's wrong? We failed. Wouldn't be the first time. He glared at me. Do you know how to comfort people? No. Zhang Ming came over and sat down too. He looked just as unhappy. After a while, Zhou Qi suddenly said, Luo Chuan. I'm sorry. I froze. Did you crash my car? No. Then what are you apologizing for? You gave us a venue and found people to help us, and this is what we did with it. I looked at him. Did I give you money? No. Then what did I lose? The venue costs money too. Those conference rooms at the hotel were empty anyway, and the managers giving you advice happened during their normal work hours. It's not like you blew up the building. Zhou Qi couldn't help laughing a little. Can't you be serious for once? I thought about it. Fine. Seriously, then. You failed. So what? I never told you that you had to succeed. Zhang Ming looked at me. You really don't think it was a waste? No. I took a sip of my drink. I used to think if you guys needed money, I could just give you money. Then none of you wanted it. Looking at it now, maybe this way is actually better. Zhou Qi asked, what's better about it? At least the failure belongs to you. His face immediately darkened. Tang Luo Chuan. I laughed. A voice suddenly came from nearby. He's actually right. Su Zhixiao had arrived without any of us noticing. She was holding the event data. Zhou Qi immediately asked, what went wrong? Su Zhixiao sat down. First, you chose the wrong target group for this event. Second, the partner businesses didn't match the event theme. Also, she began analyzing the problems one by one. Zhou Qi and Zhang Ming immediately became serious. I sat nearby and listened for a while. Then I suddenly realized they really didn't need money right now. What they needed was someone to tell them where they had gone wrong and how to fix it. I took out my phone. I had originally planned to see what the bank had sent me today. Then I put the phone away again. Forget it. I wouldn't spend anything today. If the system knew, it might actually be moved to tears. Zhou Qi and Zhang Ming didn't give up. They adjusted their direction based on the problems from the last test. They stopped trying to target every student on campus. They stopped trying to work with a pile of businesses at the same time too. In the end, they chose one very specific use case: campus club activities. They would help student clubs find suitable nearby businesses. Businesses would provide real discounts, and students could directly claim event benefits. It wasn't huge, but it was clear. On the day of their second official test, I originally hadn't planned to go. Shinmayan also had an event that day. Jiang Jingyue had asked me to have dinner that evening. Su Zhixiao wanted me to read documents. I felt busier every single day. In the end, I still made time to go to campus. The moment I arrived, Zhou Qi rushed over. "Bro, people are actually using it this time." I looked around. There really were quite a few students. Several partner businesses even had lines. Zhang Ming was calmer than Zhou Qi, but he couldn't hide the smile on his face either. The data was much better than the first test. I asked, "Are you making money?" Both of them looked at me at once. "Can you not be so materialistic? What's the point of starting a business if it doesn't make money?" Su Zhixia happened to walk over at that moment. "It's not time to talk about making money yet." I sighed. "Fine. As long as you're happy." After the event, a teacher from the University Entrepreneurship Center came over on his own. He thought the project was still immature, but worth continuing to observe. He was even willing to provide resources for the next stage. Zhou Qi looked like someone had injected pure adrenaline into his veins. Then a few students nearby started talking. Was this project funded by Tang Luochuan? Obviously. Must be nice to be rich. If you throw enough money at something, what project can't work? The smile on Zhou Qi's face faded immediately. He was about to explain when I walked over first. "No. They froze." I said. "I didn't invest money in their project. The venue was a normal cooperation arrangement too. They built this themselves. They already failed once. This is just the first time it started to show some results." Someone asked, "But aren't you the owner? You didn't help?" I helped. I pointed toward the royal banquet staff. They gave them operations advice. Then I pointed at Su Zhixia. She helped review the project. Finally, I looked at Zhou Qi and Zhang Ming. But they're the ones who actually built it. It has nothing to do with me having money. The people around us slowly went quiet. Zhou Qi looked at me and didn't say anything for a long time. After everyone left, he suddenly put an arm around my shoulders. "Bro, touched?" "A little." "Then buy me dinner." He immediately let go. "Get lost." I laughed. Su Zhixiao was standing nearby. Suddenly, she said, "Tang Luochuan. What? You did well today." I looked at her. "Which part? You didn't take credit for what they did." I was even more confused. It wasn't my credit in the first place. She looked at me for a few seconds, then smiled. "That's exactly why I said you did well." Right then, Shinmayan came running over from a distance. "Tang Luochuan, didn't you say you'd come find me after the event?" I checked the time. Oh no. I had forgotten. Right away. At the exact same time, a message from Jiang Jingyue popped up. 7 p.m. Don't forget. Su Zhixia looked down at her phone and reminded me too. The invitation to the Lu Group's new commercial project launch has arrived. You need to attend. My head started hurting. On my left, Shinmayan had already walked over. You have plans tonight too? On my right, another message from Jiang Jingyue appeared on my phone. Just try being late. In front of me, Su Zhixia handed me the invitation. This isn't an ordinary event. A lot of people from Yueching's business community will be there. I took the invitation. It read, Lu Commercial Group New Project Launch Event. I stared at it for a few seconds. Lu Qingzhou will be there too. Of course. Will there be food? Su Zhixia closed her eyes. Shinmayan burst out laughing. Zhou Qi, standing off to the side, was already struggling not to laugh too. I didn't understand. If you went to a launch event and didn't eat, what was the point of going? But at the time, I didn't know that this launch event would become the beginning of my first real entry into Yueching's business world. Before this, people knew me because of luxury cars, because of royal banquet, because of all those exaggerated rumors. But this time, for the first time, they would truly see me as a competitor. And Lu Qingzhou would also discover for the first time that the truly troublesome thing about me had never been how much money was sitting in my bank accounts. It was that, little by little, a group of people who actually knew how to get things done had begun gathering around me. I looked down at the invitation. Su Zhixia suddenly asked, "Nervous? Why would I be nervous? That isn't school. And it isn't your own hotel. No one there is going to go easy on you just because you have money." I thought about it. Good. She looked a little surprised. Why? I put the invitation away. Winning is more interesting that way. Su Zhixia looked at me. For once, she didn't make fun of me. Instead, she smiled faintly. Shinmayan immediately looked over at her. And, naturally, Jiang Jingyue's call came in at that exact moment. I looked at the screen and suddenly had a feeling. The truly troublesome part might only just be beginning.